World War I, often referred to as the Great War, saw the rise and fall of many prominent figures, and one of the most influential among them was Winston Churchill. Best known for his role as Prime Minister during World War II, Churchill's involvement in World War I was critical in shaping his political career and leadership philosophy. As the First Lord of the Admiralty, Churchill was responsible for many of the naval strategies implemented in the early stages of the war, including the infamous Gallipoli campaign, which remains one of the most controversial military actions of the war. This video will delve into Winston Churchill's role in World War I, examining both his triumphs and failures, and how these experiences laid the foundation for his later achievements. At the outbreak of World War I, Churchill was serving as the First Lord of the Admiralty, a position he had held since 1911. He was tasked with overseeing Britain's naval forces, one of the most powerful fleets in the world at the time. Churchill's role was vital, as Britain's island status made the Navy essential in protecting the nation from external threats and maintaining control of sea routes. Churchill was known for his energy and ambition, and he quickly set about modernizing the Royal Navy. He championed the transition from coal-powered to oil-powered ships, a move that would increase the speed and efficiency of British warships. He also worked to ensure that the Navy was prepared for any conflict, increasing munitions production and making key strategic decisions. His early decisions in the war were marked by a focus on blockade strategies aimed at cutting off supplies to Germany and its allies. The naval blockade was one of the most effective tools Britain used during the war, gradually weakening the Central Powers by restricting their access to food, weapons, and resources. Churchill's leadership in these early years was seen as competent, and his influence in shaping Britain's naval policies was significant. One of the most pivotal moments in Churchill's World War I career was his advocacy for the Gallipoli campaign. Churchill believed that by opening up a new front in the East, the Allies could relieve pressure on the Western Front and bring a swift end to the war. The plan was ambitious. Allied forces, led by British and French troops, would seize control of the Dardanelles Strait, a key waterway controlled by the Ottoman Empire. Success in this campaign would allow the Allies to establish a sea route to Russia and potentially knock the Ottoman Empire out of the war. Despite Churchill's optimism, the Gallipoli campaign quickly turned into a disaster. The initial naval bombardment failed to break through the Ottoman defenses, and the subsequent land invasion on the Gallipoli Peninsula was met with fierce resistance from Turkish forces, led by Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. The terrain, combined with poor planning, logistical challenges, and underestimating the Ottoman defense, resulted in heavy casualties and little territorial gain for the Allies. The campaign dragged on for months with no success, and by January 1916, the Allied forces were forced to retreat, having suffered nearly 250,000 casualties. For Churchill, Gallipoli was a crushing blow. As one of the campaign's chief architects, he was widely blamed for the failure, and the public outcry was swift. His political opponents called for his resignation, and in May 1915, Churchill stepped down from his position as First Lord of the Admiralty. The Gallipoli disaster severely damaged his political reputation, and many believed his career in government was over. Following his resignation from the Admiralty, Churchill sought to redeem himself by joining the British Army. In early 1916, he was commissioned as a lieutenant colonel and given command of a battalion on the Western Front. He served with the Royal Scots Fusiliers in the trenches of northern France, a stark contrast to his previous position of power and influence. This period of his life was marked by a deep sense of personal reflection and a desire to prove himself. Despite the hardships of life in the trenches, Churchill's time on the front lines was not without merit. His leadership skills were well regarded by his men, and he gained valuable first-hand experience in modern warfare, which would later inform his military strategies in World War II. Churchill's time in the trenches also gave him a deep understanding of the human cost of war, a lesson that would stay with him for the rest of his life. Although his service on the Western Front lasted only a few months, it played a crucial role in his personal and political recovery. He returned to Britain with a renewed sense of purpose, ready to re-enter the political arena and contribute to the war effort in any capacity he could. In 1917, Churchill was offered the position of Minister of Munitions by Prime Minister David Lloyd George. This role allowed Churchill to once again influence the war effort, overseeing the production and distribution of weapons, ammunition, and military supplies. It was a critical position, as the war had become a grinding war of attrition, and the Allies needed a steady supply of munitions to maintain their offensives. Churchill excelled in this role, using his organizational talents to streamline munitions production and ensure that British forces were adequately supplied. His success as Minister of Munitions helped rehabilitate his political career, and by the end of the war in 1918, Churchill had regained much of the public and political support he had lost following Gallipoli. World War I was a formative experience for Winston Churchill. It was a period of both triumph and failure, shaping his approach to leadership and strategy. The disaster at Gallipoli taught Churchill valuable lessons about the dangers of overconfidence, the importance of thorough planning, and the unpredictable nature of warfare. His experience on the Western Front gave him a deep understanding of the realities of combat and the immense human cost of war, insights that would later inform his leadership during World War II. Churchill would go on to play a central role in shaping the post-war world, including negotiating the terms of the Treaty of Versailles, which officially ended the war. His involvement in these negotiations, while controversial, showed his commitment to creating a lasting peace in Europe, although the treaty's harsh terms would later be criticized for contributing to the rise of tensions leading to World War II. Winston Churchill's involvement in World War I was marked by both notable successes and devastating failures. As First Lord of the Admiralty, he modernized the Royal Navy and helped secure Britain's maritime dominance. But the Gallipoli campaign nearly ended his political career. His decision to return to the front lines as a soldier demonstrated his resilience and determination to rebuild his reputation, while his later role as Minister of Munitions showcased his ability to adapt and contribute to the war effort in a meaningful way. The lessons Churchill learned during World War I would profoundly influence his leadership during World War II, when he would once again be called upon to guide Britain through one of its darkest hours. The experiences of the Great War, both good and bad, helped forge the leader who would later become one of the most iconic figures in modern history. Thank you for watching our video on Winston Churchill's role in World War I. If you found this exploration of Churchill's World War I journey insightful and would like to learn more about key figures from history, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We welcome your comments and thoughts on Churchill's early career and how it shaped his leadership during the Second Global Conflict. Join us again for more fascinating historical stories on Heroes Historia.